My rejection was me. I held myself back. I didn't have the big, I sent it to 50 publishers and 49 publishers rejected it. I think for years I was hesitant to even get a real proposal in front of my agent.
Hey everyone, this is Alice with your Right Life Coach podcast, and I am super excited today because I have my good friend Laurie Davies with me, and oh my gosh, you guys are in for a treat. She is just a shining light in the world of book publishing, and she has a wonderful story about her journey of publishing that I want her to highlight, just to show you that, she may look like an overnight success to you because she just had a book come out. However, this has been a long time coming for her. So I want to tell you a little bit about her. Laurie is a writer, a speaker, a lay counselor, and she helps women deal with their emotional accumulation, letting go of things like regret, grudges, bitterness, and shame. And her book, Emotional Hoarding, Letting Go of the Stuff That Keeps You Stuck, is available wherever books are sold. So you want to go find that after you listen to her. Laurie is a member of the Proverbs 31 writing team, and her writing has been featured in guidepost books and magazines. And with her husband of 30 years, she lives in the Phoenix area where she drinks hot coffee on 115-degree days. Who does that? And she has two adorable puppies who also run around in her life. She has a journalism background, and she's been writing professionally in one way or another for 35 years. For the last 8 years, she's also added speaking into the mix. So that's just a fraction of who Laurie is, because as I know her, she is a unique blend of wisdom and humor, along with some really mad writing skills. And she just has delightful turns of phrase when she's talking or when she's writing. And so being in her presence is always a delight. And I met you, 10 years ago, or a little bit more. We met at Mount Hermon Writers Conference, and you caught my eye as just somebody who, when I was an agent, we used to call them rising stars. So you caught my eye as a potential rising star, and I'd like to take credit for knowing I was right. But you've been joking recently that it took you 10 years to get published. So
Yeah,
let's talk
that's
about
no
that.
joke, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did take 10 years. We met 10 years ago, Alice. It was the 2016 Mount Hermon conference. And your listeners should know you were the first one who, looked at my writing and said, hey, pull up a chair. Maybe you should sit at the adult table. You never forget the first one who believed in you. So we'll try not to turn this into like a mutual admiration society podcast, but you just never forget that first person who said, I believe in you. I see something here. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's been fun watching you grow over the years and watching you try different things. And so I want to talk about that, especially like what kind of personal growth did you actually go through over those 10 years? Not just with your craft or your skills, but like who did you become? How do you know yourself differently now?
Wow. I didn't know we were going to just like dive right into the deep end.
Oh, yeah. That's what this podcast is all about.
That's a great question. I don't think anyone has asked me that. And I think I can maybe answer it in reverse, because you mentioned kind of like quotes, overnight success. And it does look like things started happening all at once in terms of I travel a little bit around the country now and do speaking events. My book came out, my debut book. It seems like it all got put together really quickly. But to answer your question, so much happened in the back of the house. By that, I mean, I think each of us who enters this space, this communication space, whether it's speaking, writing, podcasting, I think we all have areas where we need to grow. And sometimes growth, like I'll never forget when you taught me about the word decide, that when you decide something, the root side is the same as pesticide, homicide. It means something has to go. So when we decide to get into this space, what we're really saying is we're agreeing that some things are going to have to go. So sometimes that's pride. Maybe some arrogance has built up around, how'd she get that speaking gig? I'm a better speaker than she is. So sometimes it's pride that has to go and humility that has to grow. About John, Jesus said he was the greatest among men born of women. And it was John who said, I must become less so he can become greater. So sometimes there's some pride that has to go so we can adopt a posture of humility, which is, I think, essential in this space. I think each of us probably could identify some things that need to go. For me, that growth looked like learning to be okay with slow growth, learning sort of not to confuse passion with urgency, and also being okay with letting go of what I think it should look like. There was a season, Alice, where the speaking thing was moving much more quickly than the writing thing. And as you mentioned in introducing me, I'm a 35-year writer. So I'm sitting here going, I'm a writer. Why are all these speaking doors opening? Like, I remember one time praying, kind of joking, but mostly joking. I remember telling the Lord, like, I think you're wrong about this. I'm a writer. I'm not a speaker. And yet all these speaking doors were opening. So I think letting go is probably my greatest area of growth, which seems so counterintuitive. But I had to learn to let go of what I thought it should look like and learn to say, okay, I'll serve you however you want to use me instead of how I want you to use me. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. I really like to tell people, like, don't get attached to one way of looking at this, because writing, book publishing, really life is a journey, and it does take a lot of letting go. It takes believing and imagining and hoping for a future outcome. But if we get one vision locked in our brain about how exactly it has to be, we can really slow ourselves down, and we can end up feeling stuck because it's not getting there. So
Right.
letting go and trusting that wherever the path takes you is right for you and right for the people that you want to serve. So I love
And
that answer.
honestly, to bring a biblical insight into it, right, for how God wants to bring himself glory. Like David prayed, lead me and guide me for your name's sake. And
Right.
we would never say this out loud, but sometimes we kind of want to flip it. Like we want to lead and guide God for our name's sake. And again, we'd never say it out loud, but it's kind of how we behave when we're holding on to the things so tightly. So to kind of tie off the writing speaking thing, when I finally realized, and we could get into platform if you want, but I felt like if platform was the ticket to writing, specifically writing a book, it wasn't happening. I wasn't getting there. So I laid it down. I did. And I cried. I remember what I was wearing. Like I wanted to write so badly. It's in my bones. Like I can't not write. But I laid it down and I remember two things distinctly. I remember the Lord kind of rebuking me, but gently and lovingly, and saying almost in my spirit, I felt like he said, good, because you've only been willing to give me what was easy for you.
Ooh.
Was the writing piece. I felt like something dislodged because he really did want to use my mouth. Now, for better or for worse on that, right? But he used a donkey, so he can use me. So that was one thing. And then the other thing was I woke up the next morning and felt such freedom, like something oppressive almost had been lifted off of me because I had made platform and writing such like just the main thing. I clung to it so hard. And when I released it, like I literally woke up the next day and I was like, wow, Lord, how do you want me to serve you today? Instead of here's what I'm bringing to serve you today, right? It was so freeing. And this is no joke. I want to say within 8 weeks of that shift, which happened on the inside, that's what I mean by back of the house stuff. Within 8 weeks of that shift, my publisher called my agent and said, hey, is that project from Laurie Davies still available? So I think God always wanted me to write the book, like write the thing, do the thing. I want you to do the thing, but he wanted me to have it in the right place in my heart and in the right order in how I was offering it to him.
Right. Yeah. I love that. It is so good. Yeah. Sometimes when we're trying to push our way through, it's the same thing as being attached. pushing rarely works. The authors that I've worked with that have done so well are the ones who feel pulled forward instead of pushing forward. And sometimes we think that pushing forward is actually helping God and helping us get there. But so many people end up feeling frustrated, confused, stuck, stopped, not getting anywhere. The platform isn't growing.
Right.
And yeah, so I love that you let go and you let God lead and you
Yeah, I
follow.
mean, God is not. Here's one thing I've learned because I still do not have a very large platform as far as what you typically hear about what publishers are looking for. What
Mhm.
I've learned is like, God doesn't, He's not bound by an algorithm. When He's
Right.
in it, nothing will stop it. So, yeah, we can get kind of desperate. And I think what happens, Alice, well, I know what happens, and I know it happened in me. It's hard to admit. Maybe I should ask you to edit this out, but I'll let it ride. You start looking to the left and to the right. And I'll never
Yeah.
forget being at a conference where I heard Susie Larson say, comparison has two fruits, and neither are from the vine. One is arrogance. You think you're better. Why aren't you getting there? Because your writing is better or your speaking is better. The other is despair. Why is everyone
Mm.
lapping me? Why is everyone else getting the book deal, the speaking gig, the whatever? So comparison's a killer. And I think we start grasping at stuff like that when we're trying to build platform, feed the algorithm, figure out the latest hack to put ourselves out there. I like how you put it, that you feel like you're being pulled almost rather than you're trying to make something happen, because that really is how it is when God is in it. I mean, we can't sort of start subtracting the things, especially Christian communicators, if we want to lead people into the presence of this wonder working God that parts seas and moves mountains, if we want to really take readers there, we better believe He's willing to do that for us.
Good point. Really
You
good
know?
point. Yeah. So when it comes to comparison, I
Mm,
agree with you. Those two things, you can really get yourself all up in a tizzy with comparing yourself one way or another, whether you're too good or you're not good enough. And if there's one thing I want people to really get out of this whole podcast thing I'm doing is that the best way for you to show up as a writer is to be absolutely you, to be
yeah.
authentically you. Don't try to be somebody else and don't try to be better than anybody else and don't assume you're worse than anybody else. You be you. And if you're not sure who that is, come talk to me because that's what I help people with all the time in my coaching. But, you being you and you knowing who you really are in the world and to God and to the people you want to serve. That's so important. And so yay. That's what I have to say about that. So I'm wondering, was there ever a specific moment of rejection that could have ended the dream if you'd let it?
I wondered if a question like this was coming. Alice, this may be the most unconventional answer you've ever heard. My rejection was me. I held myself back. I didn't have the big, I sent it to 50 publishers and 49 publishers rejected it. I think for years I was hesitant to even get a proposal, a real proposal, in front of my agent. My agent is a saint. Most agents want to represent someone that is reasonably close to ready. They want something that's going to microwave cook, not, slow cook.
Yeah.
So yeah, my agent took me on, I think, knowing I was going to be a bit of a project, but it took me a long time to even put a proposal in front of her that she could sell, that she could shop. And it was because I had all sorts of, why even bother? Because my platform is so small. We won't even land a publisher. So I kept
Mhm.
talking myself out of it. I was my own rejection. And it wasn't even imposter syndrome. I can't say that it was imposter syndrome. It's more nuanced than that. It really was. I was so locked up by platform and numbers, and publishers won't take me seriously because I don't have a following. And as much as I hate to admit it, I think over time I fashioned that into an idol. Again, I said it earlier, if platform was the ticket to getting a book deal, that is all I became focused on. And I think it leaked out in conversation. My friends have been so patient with hearing me sort of nurse that problem along, when here's the irony, it ended up not even being the problem. Because most publishers, well, the big publishers do want to see big platform, but medium, smaller publishers, it still is true. I am proof positive that if you have two of the three things, they will take a serious look at you. And the three things are good writing, great writing,
Mm-hmm.
a great idea,
Yep.
and a strong platform. And
Right.
the way I come at emotional baggage is unique, emotional hoarding. My thesis is we don't have a baggage problem. We have a hoarding problem because we don't let go. So that's, it was fresh enough to kind of catch my publisher's eye. And I've been writing a long, long time. So I think my writing, I think it was there, and I didn't have the
Mm-hmm.
platform. So, okay, so the stool still held up with two of the three. I kind of went rambly there for a minute, but yeah, I was my own rejection because I kept looking at that third leg of the stool and I was so focused on what I didn't have instead of going, wait a minute, this is a unique idea. And I have been a writer for a long time. Maybe I should give it a go. I was my own rejection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. In publishing, we call it the three-legged stool.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, somebody can break through with just two of those legs.
Yeah.
So often it's the other way around, though, where somebody has a huge platform and they don't know how to write. And
Well,
they
I've
need help
seen
with
that.
Yeah.
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 I've heard stories where I hope that the publishing industry sort of course corrects. I don't know. I'm not big enough to solve that problem, but I think I've heard enough stories of the huge platform person who had a great idea, but
Mhm.
maybe the writing chops weren't there. So then they had to go get a ghostwriter or a writing coach to kind of nurse them through that piece of it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a whole different podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say really kept you going then when you're basically rejecting yourself or you're thinking, I can't do this, this isn't going to work? What kept you going?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Friends, if you're curious to know how Laurie answered that question, you'll want to tune in to part 2 to find out what she said and to hear our conversation about what actually moves a writing career forward. We'll be sharing practical steps and wisdom about the writing and publishing journey, things like how to get the most out of attending writers' conferences, building relationships, and staying in touch with why you write. Now, if this episode resonated with you, I would be so grateful if you'd hit subscribe wherever you're listening so you don't miss the next one. Also, bonus points, if you have 30 seconds to spare, a quick review helps other heart-led authors find their way here too. And remember, you've got a story worth telling and a message to deliver.